Every morning is a fresh battlefield of the mind, and the greatest victories in life are won before the world even awakens. You see, success does not begin with your hands. It begins with your heart. It begins when you look in the mirror at dawn and remind yourself of this truth from Isaiah 4:3a, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. What a declaration. When you rise each morning with that promise alive in your spirit, you awaken the divine power that designed you for greatness. When the sun rises, so does the opportunity to conquer. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, and every legacy that reshaped the world began not in the spotlight of noon, but in the quiet power of morning. The first hour of your day is your greatest asset. It is the steering wheel of your destiny. Those who understand this principle never approach their mornings casually. They treat them as sacred ground, the birthplace of victory. Let me say it plainly, if you win the morning, you win the day. It's not just a quote, it's a law of success. The mind, when first awakened, is pure soil. Whatever seed you plant in those early moments will determine the fruit of your day. If you sow gratitude, clarity, and faith, your actions will reflect strength and purpose. But if you allow fear, distraction, and doubt to take root, your entire day becomes a struggle against your own mindset. The morning doesn't just happen to you. You create it. And the person who learns to command their mornings becomes unstoppable. Here's a truth most people ignore. Your brain is most suggestible right after waking up. That means what you say, see, and think in those first few minutes imprints your subconscious mind more deeply than anything else you'll encounter that day. Imagine starting every morning declaring, I am equipped, I am chosen, I am walking in divine favor. You're not just reciting words, you're programming victory into your thinking. Success responds to those who expect it. The world belongs to the disciplined. While others hit the snooze button, champions are already planning their wins. They understand that the early morning hours are the most precious. The mind is quiet, distractions are few, and the connection between you and your purpose is clear. This is when ideas are born, strategies are formed, and visions become clear. Napoleon Hill once said that every great success begins with a definite purpose. And what better time to define that purpose than in the stillness of dawn, when the noise of the world hasn't yet drowned out your inner voice. Here's the hook: your morning either builds your momentum or breaks it. Every delay, every excuse, every time you wake up without direction, you lose ground to mediocrity. But when you wake up with intentionality, with your mind focused and your heart grateful, you unleash a force that no obstacle can silence. Morning is your daily audition for greatness. If you approach it with discipline, the rest of the day bows in submission to your energy. Consider this perspective. Nature itself models success through mornings. The sun rises with consistency and purpose, lighting the earth no matter what darkness came before. It doesn't wait for permission, applause, or perfect conditions. It simply fulfills its role. The same principle applies to you. Each morning, rise with determination. Shine regardless of yesterday's storms. You can't rewrite the night, but you can command the dawn. A victorious morning begins with awareness. Ask yourself, what energy am I inviting into this day? Are you letting anxiety set the tone? Or are you building an atmosphere of confidence and clarity? Simple habits like meditating on scripture, visualizing your goals, writing gratitude lists, or affirming God's promises can turn your mornings into launch pads for miracles. Isaiah 43 reminds us, behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. That new thing begins when you do. When your eyes open each morning, heaven hands you a blank canvas. Don't fill it with chaos. Paint it with conviction. The morning is not about speed, it's about strategy. It's not about how early you wake up, but how purposefully you rise. Some people wake up at dawn but remain spiritually asleep all day. Others rise later, but begin with such alignment that they accomplish more in hours than most do in days. The power isn't in the clock, it's in the consciousness. So before the world demands your attention, before the notification starts screaming for your focus, give yourself the gift of stillness. Center your thoughts, direct your energy, and affirm your destiny. Every morning is a contract renewal between you and your purpose. And when you show up to that contract with faith, discipline, and expectation, victory becomes your daily routine. Winning the morning is not an event. It's a habit. It's the silent commitment that separates dreamers from doers, talkers from achievers, and wanderers from warriors. Each sunrise whispers the same invitation. Will you rise with me, or will you sleep through your calling? The answer to that question determines everything, because the truth is simple yet profound. Your morning mindset writes the story of your day, and your day writes the story of your life. Prayer is not a ritual, it is the heartbeat of power. It is the invisible engine behind visible success. Every great achiever, whether they knew it or not, tapped into the unseen before manifesting in the seen. Prayer is not merely speaking to God, it is aligning your inner frequency with divine intelligence. It is not a desperate cry for help. It is a confident conversation with the Creator who already placed victory within you. When you begin to see prayer as partnership rather than petition, everything about your life begins to change. Here's the truth that most people overlook. Prayer is not just a spiritual act, it's a mental recalibration. It trains your mind to think beyond limitation, to see solutions where others see walls, and to expect results where others expect resistance. When you kneel in prayer, you are not lowering yourself, you are rising into power. You are stepping into the boardroom of heaven where strategies for success are revealed. That's why many people hustle hard but still feel empty. They are working without alignment. True success is not created by effort alone, but by connection to divine direction. Let me give you this hook. The shortest distance between fear and faith is prayer. Every time anxiety tries to take control, every time doubt whispers that you can't, prayer shifts the atmosphere of your mind. It reminds you the same God who said in Isaiah 43, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, is the same God walking beside you through every challenge today. You see, prayer doesn't remove problems, it repositions you above them. It turns obstacles into opportunities and pain into preparation. In the quiet of prayer, clarity is born. The world teaches you to act first and think later, but divine wisdom teaches you to listen first and then act with precision. Prayer silences the noise so that inspiration can speak. It gives you ideas that strategy books can't offer, peace that money can't buy, and confidence that no external validation can provide. Every morning that you choose prayer, you are plugging your spirit into the ultimate source of creativity, strength, and vision. That is how you begin to operate on a level where nothing external can shake your internal stability. When you treat prayer like your power source, you stop approaching it as a last resort and start using it as your first move. Too many people pray only when they are desperate. Champions pray because they are deliberate. They understand that prayer is not about informing God. It's about transforming themselves. It's about aligning their thoughts with His promises so they can walk in authority rather than anxiety. Every prayer you make in faith sends an instruction into the atmosphere. You are not just speaking words, you are releasing energy, creating pathways, commanding circumstances to align with your divine assignment. Think of it this way: when you charge your phone, you expect it to function at full capacity. If you neglect to plug it in, it dies. The same is true for your spirit. Without prayer, your inner battery drains under the weight of fear, pressure, and distraction. But the moment you connect through prayer, your energy renews, your focus sharpens, and your strength multiplies. You begin to move through the day with unshakable calm because you know you're not walking alone. you're walking with divine backing. Here's another hook. Success without prayer is speed without direction. You might move fast, but you'll still feel lost. You might achieve things, but you'll lack peace. Real victory is not about reaching goals. It's about walking in grace. Prayer aligns your ambition with God's intention, ensuring that what you build doesn't just look good, it lasts. Every great structure needs a foundation, and prayer is that foundation. It keeps you rooted when storms hit, balanced when praise comes, and humble when power grows. Prayer also awakens gratitude. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's miraculous. It reminds you that each breath, each opportunity, each sunrise is a sign of divine favor. And gratitude, when combined with prayer, becomes a magnet for abundance. When you pray with a thankful heart, your entire perspective changes. You stop chasing approval and start radiating peace. You stop competing with others and start collaborating with destiny. So, when the day begins and your mind is tempted to rush into motion, pause, breathe, center yourself in the awareness that you are connected to the source of all wisdom and power. Speak with conviction. Declare Isaiah 43 over your life. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. Let that become the anthem of your morning and the rhythm of your day. Because when prayer becomes your first response instead of your last reaction, you'll begin to live in a constant state of victory. You won't just hope for miracles, you'll walk in them. Isaiah 43 is not just a chapter in Scripture, it is a declaration of identity, resilience, and divine partnership. It is a personal letter from God to every individual who has ever faced fear, uncertainty, or defeat. When God says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you, I have called you by name. You are mine," he is not offering comfort alone. He is issuing a command, a covenant, and a challenge. He is reminding you that no matter where you stand, you are not abandoned, and no matter what you face, you are not powerless. That single promise has the authority to transform how you approach every moment of your life. Isaiah 43 is a victory manual because it dismantles the two greatest enemies of progress, fear and forgetfulness. Fear whispers that you are not enough, and forgetfulness blinds you to what God has already done. But when you hold the promises of Isaiah 43 in your heart, fear loses its grip and memory restores your faith. This chapter invites you to remember who stands with you in the fire, who carries you through the flood, and who speaks your name when the world overlooks you. That awareness becomes your armor, your confidence, and your unshakable advantage in the pursuit of success. Here's the hook: the voice you believe determines the life you live. If you believe the voice of limitation, you live in defeat. But if you believe the voice of divine promise, you begin to operate from victory instead of chasing it. Isaiah 43 reminds you that victory is not something you achieve. It's something you already possess because of who walks beside you. When God says, "You are mine," he is not describing ownership in weakness, but partnership in power. It's the assurance that your purpose is protected, your path is guided, and your destiny is secured. Every leader, every visionary, every person striving for greatness must anchor themselves in a truth higher than circumstance. Without that anchor, success becomes fragile, easily shaken by failure or rejection. But Isaiah 43 builds an inner foundation that cannot be destroyed by external pressure. It reminds you that divine redemption means restoration, and restoration means renewal. Even when you've fallen, even when you've made mistakes, the promise still stands. You can begin again because the one who called you has not changed his mind about your purpose. The modern world celebrates independence, but Isaiah 43 celebrates divine interdependence, the strength that comes from knowing you are never alone. It is easy to trust when everything is working, but true power is revealed when you trust through the trial. When you walk through the waters and the fire of life, you discover that divine companionship turns chaos into calm. You don't just survive, you emerge refined like gold through fire. This is why champions are not those who never fall. They are those who never forget the voice that calls them forward. Isaiah 43 also challenges your perspective on identity. You are not defined by failure, rejection, or the opinions of others. You are defined by the one who calls you mine. That single word destroys insecurity and replaces it with divine confidence. It means you are chosen for a reason, equipped for a mission, and designed for impact. When you know who you belong to, you stop begging for acceptance and start walking in authority. The moment you internalize that truth, you stop reacting to life, and begin directing it. Here's another hook. You cannot conquer what you have not first claimed. Isaiah 43 gives you permission to claim your peace, your purpose, your power, and your victory. It teaches that redemption is not passive, it is active. To live redeemed is to live aware, to move with the boldness of one who knows heaven is backing their every step. You no longer pray small prayers or dream limited dreams. You begin to think like someone who carries divine DNA, someone whose potential cannot be capped by circumstance. Every word in Isaiah 43 carries the rhythm of resilience. It doesn't promise that life will be easy. It promises that God will be present. It doesn't say the waters won't rise. It says they won't drown you. It doesn't say the fire won't burn. It says it won't consume you. That's the power of divine assurance. It doesn't remove the storm, but it guarantees that the storm won't remove you. This mindset transforms fear into faith and struggle into strategy. When you wake each day and speak Isaiah 43 over your life, you are not quoting poetry. You are activating promise. You are declaring that you are unbreakable, unshakable, and unstoppable. You are reminding yourself that your life is not a random sequence of events, but a divinely guided journey. And as you walk in that awareness, victory stops being a destination and becomes your daily reality. Your words are not harmless sounds. They are seeds with power. Every time you open your mouth, you are shaping your reality. What you speak becomes what you see, and what you consistently confess becomes what you eventually live. That is why people who speak faith rise above limitation, while those who speak fear remain trapped by it. The difference between victory and defeat often begins with the language you use when life presses hardest. When you understand that your words are instruments of creation, you stop speaking carelessly and start speaking deliberately. Here's the truth. You cannot speak defeat and expect to walk in victory. Every sentence you release is an instruction to your mind, your emotions, and even your circumstances. When you say, I can't, your brain immediately begins searching for proof of limitation. But when you say, I can, you ignite your creativity to find ways forward. This is not just positive thinking. It is spiritual law. Proverbs declares that life and death are in the power of the tongue. In other words, your speech is either building your destiny or burying it. So if you want to rise, your words must rise first. Here's the hook. Your mouth is the microphone of your mind, and the world is always listening. What you say about yourself, your goals, your challenges, and your future becomes the soundtrack of your destiny. Every word carries vibration, energy, and intention. Fear speaks the language of limitation. Faith speaks the language of creation. The person who learns to speak faith before feeling it, to declare victory before seeing it, becomes unstoppable. Because faith-filled words don't describe your situation. They define it. Consider this truth: the universe doesn't respond to your emotions, it responds to your declarations. God himself modeled this principle in creation. He spoke light before light existed. He declared what he wanted to see, not what he currently saw. If the divine strategy for creation was declaration, then your personal strategy for transformation must be the same. When you begin your day speaking words of strength, clarity, and purpose, you set a spiritual tone that no circumstance can mute. Words are not mere communication, they are commands to the atmosphere. Fear loves silence, but faith loves sound. When you remain silent in the face of challenge, fear grows stronger. But the moment you open your mouth and declare, I will overcome this, the entire rhythm of your mind begins to shift. Faith rises, energy increases, direction becomes clear. This is why successful people, both in business and in life, are intentional about their language. They speak possibility even in difficulty. They replace doubt with affirmation. They refuse to give fear a voice. They understand that their vocabulary is their victory. You see, when you speak faith, you are not denying reality. You are defining your response to it. Speaking faith does not mean ignoring pain. It means refusing to let pain dictate your narrative. You can acknowledge the challenge without surrendering to it. When you say, I am strong, even when you feel weak, you are not lying. You are leading your emotions toward truth. Words shape belief. Belief shapes behavior. And behavior shapes destiny. The transformation always begins with what leaves your lips. Here's another hook. What you verbalize, you visualize, and what you visualize, you materialize. The connection between speech and manifestation is unbreakable. That's why Isaiah 43 reminds you of who you are and who stands with you. When you speak those promises aloud, you are not just reciting scripture. You are activating a spiritual frequency that aligns you with victory. Each declaration of faith is a spark that ignites divine momentum. Think about how different your day becomes when you start it with confident declarations. Today I walk in wisdom. Today I attract favor. Today I am unstoppable. These are not empty affirmations. They are instructions to your subconscious mind and invitations to divine partnership. The more you speak them, the more your environment begins to reflect them. Faith spoken consistently becomes faith manifested. The tragedy is that too many people use their words against themselves. They talk about failure more than they talk about faith. They rehearse problems instead of declaring promises. But words were never meant to be weapons of self-destruction. They were designed to be tools of creation. Every time you speak faith into your situation, you are giving God permission to move through your belief. Silence allows fear to multiply, but speech activates power. So the next time fear tries to whisper its lies, don't entertain it out, speak it. Declare strength even when you feel weak. Announce hope even when the path looks dark. Your mouth was not given to you merely to describe your life. It was given to you to design it. When you learn to speak faith before you see results, you become a co-creator of destiny rather than a victim of circumstance. Because the truth is simple yet profound. What you continually declare with conviction will one day appear with precision. Adversity is not the enemy of success. It is the architect of it. Every great achievement is built on a foundation of challenges that were once disguised as setbacks. The truth that most people overlook is that obstacles are not barriers, they are bridges. They are the refining fires through which strength, wisdom, and resilience are forged. You cannot discover the depth of your potential without the pressure of resistance. Like gold tested by fire or a diamond formed under intense pressure, your greatness is revealed only when life's heat rises. When you learn to see obstacles not as punishments, but as divine training grounds, your entire perspective on growth changes forever. Here's the hook. What you call a setback is often God's setup for your next season. Life has a remarkable way of disguising promotion in the form of problems. Every obstacle carries within it a coded message, a lesson, a strategy, or a strength you will need for the next level of your destiny. The challenge is that most people run from the very experiences designed to equip them. They pray for strength, but resist the weight that builds it. They ask for wisdom, but reject the problems that teach it. Yet the ones who rise are those who learn to embrace difficulty with faith, not fear. Isaiah 43 gives you a divine perspective on adversity. It does not promise a life without trials. It promises a presence that never leaves you in them. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. This is not just poetic encouragement. It is a spiritual strategy. It tells you that your deliverance is guaranteed, but your development is essential. You will pass through the waters, not around them. You will walk through the fire, not avoid it. The process may test you, but it will not destroy you. Because while pain reveals your limits, purpose reveals your capacity. Every obstacle contains a hidden invitation to grow stronger. The question is not whether you will face difficulty. The question is how you will interpret it. When you face a challenge, you have two choices: to see it as an ending or to treat it as education. Those who choose the second path become unstoppable. They understand that every setback carries within it a seed of equal or greater opportunity. Napoleon Hill taught that principle long ago, and Isaiah 43 confirms it with divine authority. Challenges are not roadblocks. They are reminders that you are progressing. Resistance only appears when movement begins. Here's another hook. Fire doesn't destroy what's real. It reveals it. The same heat that melts wax-hardened steel. The same storm that sinks one ship propels another forward. The difference is not in the condition, but in the composition. What are you made of? If you are rooted in fear, obstacles will crush you. But if you are grounded in faith, obstacles will crown you. Every struggle becomes a stage for strength to perform, a classroom for wisdom to teach, and a laboratory for greatness to be refined. When you begin to view your challenges through this divine lens, your mindset transforms. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this preparing in me? That single shift in perspective turns pain into purpose. Suddenly, you realize that every closed door redirected you toward a better opportunity. Every delay deepened your character, and every disappointment strengthened your determination. Life is not against you. It is training you. Every obstacle is an instructor in disguise, teaching you resilience, humility, and faith. The secret to thriving through adversity is not avoidance. It is alignment. Align yourself with God's promise in Isaiah 43, and you'll walk through the waters with calm confidence. You'll face the fire knowing it cannot consume what was divinely created. The world will see the surface, your success, your confidence, your victories, but you will know the truth. All of it was built in the hidden battles you fought with courage and faith. The most successful people are not those who had the easiest journeys, but those who had unbreakable spirits. They turned pain into power, struggle into strategy, and trials into triumphs. Their greatest lessons were not learned in comfort, but in challenge. So when you find yourself in the midst of difficulty, remember that pressure is not punishment. It's preparation. It's shaping you for a version of success you are not yet strong enough to carry. When you start to see obstacles as divine training, you no longer fear them. You welcome them as confirmation that growth is happening. You begin to thank God, not just for the victories, but for the challenges that made those victories meaningful. Because every problem you conquer adds another layer of strength to your soul, another brick to your foundation, another chapter to your legacy. The fire you endure today will become the light that guides others tomorrow. And that is how champions are made, not in ease, but in endurance, not in comfort, but in courage.